Welcome. This is the Viva Connections SharePoint Framework bi-weekly sync. And we're going to talk about all sorts of exciting things. First up, let's take a look here at our agenda. All right, so we're going to have all our project updates from all the different open source repositories and galleries and samples and all that stuff. And then we've got a demo from Peter. I hope you're ready for that. And Peter, you got plenty of time. Unfortunately, Hugo is out for this time. We will get his demo on here another time. We'll get him rescheduled, no problem. But let's go ahead and jump over here and take a look at all this stuff. Oh, that was interesting in order. All right, so we got lots of stuff for you. All right, so we got all sorts of videos and the LinkedIn group and tons of sample galleries, right? So we've got, I forget how many thousands of samples we've got at this point. Across everything from list formatting to the Power Platform to SharePoint Framework, both extensions and web parts and everything in between. We've even got some AI stuff in there, so we're pretty cool too. All right, and let's keep going. So, all right, if you want to check out our new site here, if you go to aka.ms/community/home, Stephen Bowers put together some really cool designs with the help of Hugo, and it's awesome. I sound like I'm in a barrel. Oh no, I don't know.
You said
why.
a little far away, but we can still hear you. Just a little far away.
I'll put my face about 2 inches from the computer. I don't know why that would help with the headset on, but we're gonna go with that. So just imagine that's what I'm doing the whole time. Perfect. All right. So, but if you head over to this site, it's been redesigned. It's got everything you need for it. It's got all the call links, so you can join the calls directly from there, add those to your calendar, right? You can find the links to all of our repositories, find discussions, our blogs, everything. So everything we talk about here, there will be lots and lots of links shared, but this is really the only link you need. So there you go. All right, let's talk about this. So this is the new community learning channel, so please check this out on YouTube. So this is just a sort of a rebranding of our YouTube channel here. Dave, do you want to say anything about this? I'm missing anything?
Yeah, really it's just meant to be a little bit more broad spectrum in terms of inclusiveness, right? So Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community is still true, but we have more, right? There's Dynamics 365 and there's other products and technologies like Copilot Studio and all that. So it's really meant to be kind of a hub and a one-stop shop for opportunities for the community to learn together. You'll see not only Microsoft videos there, but you'll see community videos as well.
All right. Good job. All right, so then, of course, we have all these calls. So this call happens every other week here on these Thursdays, and then we have another call that happens on those Thursdays that this one is not on. So figure out how I said that, or you can just read the screen, right? So every other week we've got one of these calls on Thursdays. We've also got calls on Tuesdays. We've got calls on other days, and we've got calls when you sleep. We've got calls at night, every time, right? So, but we also record all into the YouTube, that community channel we just took a look at. So you can check them out there within 24 hours or join the calls live and be a part of the chat. It's exciting. All right, and then, of course, we have our Power Platform weekly call. David, do you want to talk about this one, too?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is for those that are wanting to get it directly from the horse's mouth, right? Because it's going to come directly from the horse. And my buttons aren't working. Oh, my God. So I got to do my own sound effects now. What is the world coming to? These are presenters that are directly from Microsoft. And so you're going to get it from those program managers, those product managers. So next week, we've got Luca and Nick talking about integrating Microsoft Copilot to the Viva Connections with Copilot Studio. Rolls right off the tongue. DC is going to be here talking about Intro to SharePoint Pages API in MS Graph. And Bob German and Seb will be here talking about Beyond Copilot plugins. So this is going to be some updates and info from Build. So we're going to get awesomeness across the board, and it is every Tuesday. It is going to be going on break here soon, so get in while you can, or you're going to miss out all summer. I wish I was at that last one so I could tell my grandkids. Be there.
Or you could also present on one of these calls. So you could attend, or you can present, or even do both. Wow, exciting. So if you fill out this form, we are always looking for new presenters, brand new presenters you don't have to have done before. We are happy to help you. We will walk you through it, help you with slides, help you with anything you're concerned about. And what you can present on is if you've contributed a sample, you've done something open source, you've done something closed source internally, right? It's just not meant to be a marketing thing. But otherwise, everything is welcome. You built something cool. We'd love to see it. Doesn't matter how complex it is. Getting started stuff is actually really, really helpful. Okay. And moving on here, David. Want to tell us about all this? Sharon is Karen?
I do when Teams doesn't automatically mute me. It's one of those days, folks. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you?
Oh, yep.
Chris, okay, good, just making sure because you never know. Anyway, sharing is caring. Program here to provide hands-on guidance for you all. What does that mean? It means we are going to join live Teams calls together and work through a problem together, hands-on, in a safe space, which means we don't record it. You can ask any and all questions that you would like and not be fearful. Is this going to go on record? Did I ask a question that everybody should know? Don't worry. We are there together to learn, and we've got another session scheduled June 24th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. We finished one up last week, I think, just before build, a couple weeks ago, just before build. It was great. Had over 30, 40 people join in, multiple pull requests, and if you don't know what a pull request is, then join. This is how you can start contributing to the community in a way that is formal and official. And once you do contribute, we want to recognize you for all the amazing stuff that you're doing. So if we move to that next slide, our community recognition program is alive and well with badges. Badgers. So everybody loves badges. It is absolutely free. Powered by Credly, so those can be associated to your LinkedIn profile, added to your blog, added to your resume, all kinds of places. It really shows that you're making a difference in the community. These are accredited badges. They are official and formal that we are providing to you at no cost. We cover the cost with Credly. But again, it's powerful because you're making a difference in the community. And let's face it, we're in a competitive environment. If you're a consultant or even if you're working in just a corporate environment, you want to show your clients and or your managers that you're making a difference. And this is a real way to do that, not just saying, oh, I'm involved, trust me. Nope, you can prove it with these badges. So don't hesitate to get opted in. As I mentioned, absolutely free, aka.ms/community/recognition. We've got some fun things coming up as well, along with like our multiverse contributor. So definitely get involved, and it's been a really great time. Appreciate everyone's support on this, and looking forward to recognize you in new, fun, and exciting ways in the future. Chris, back to you.
All right, so we're going to take a look at some updates in the SharePoint framework. So David. Back to
back to me again. All right, so there is some updates on SPFx and Copilot. This is a teaser from Build. Power cards are available within Copilot chats. So this is going to be updated in some upcoming Tuesday calls. Vesa is out today at Collab Days Milan or Italy with Paolo supporting him. So that's a great, again, opportunity for him to be able to support the community. So I'm here. You're listening to me. But this is SPFx and Copilot. Again, they'll be coming up demoed. You can get those SPFx powered cards as extensibility in Copilot. So that's really exciting. Very, very cool thing to be able to see. And
David, is that coming up in the next Tuesday call this next week?
I don't think this is the next Tuesday call. No, I think it's in an upcoming one. I think it's going to be a series as far as I know, yeah.
Because that'll be exciting. All right.
It is going to be awesome.
Whoa, wow.
Yep, and so the road ahead, general availability came out in April, but engineering is working on 1.20, about 3 months, new chart card for Viva Connections, a pie, a donut. We might throw in a cake, I don't know, maybe some Frosties or something like that. You could dip your fries in them. Getting hungry. Technical stack updates and more. As you could imagine, the semester focus is SPFx and Copilot because we're legally obligated to say Copilot at least 17 times today. But hey, it's real. It's going to be cool. It's going to get better, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm excited for the SPFx integration. So keep your eyes out.
Oh, wow. All right, now we're going to go over to our open source projects, and we'll start off here with Pineapple.js. So is Booley on the call here? Booley? Julie? Bo? Anybody?
Yeah. Bo is on. He's unmuted. Oh, now he's unmuted.
Sorry, I was not planning on talking. So we've got some updates. We have a root graph URL propagation fix that was deployed as 4.1.0. We have a couple outstanding issues in the issues list, which we're working on actively, which there are a couple of bugs for, so keep a lookout on the next release after this. We did release version 4 last month. So if you're on version 3, please try to upgrade to 4.1. The upgrade process will be simple. It won't be as complex as it was from V2 to V3. As always, we do have nightly builds, so always check out those updates. And that is all. Back to you.
Woohoo! All right. Let's go on here. So, Gary, are you available here?
I am.
All
Thanks,
right.
Chris. Yep, everyone. So there's a new beta version of CLI for Microsoft 365, v7.9. So we've got some new commands for Entra ID, so updating user roles in a group and then listing all the groups where a particular user is a member. So that's going to be quite helpful for managing your security and permissions. A new command for Microsoft Search as well. So this command just enables you to execute search queries through the CLI, just making that really super convenient. And Viva Engage, if you're using that, the new command for getting community information as well. Bit of team news. So Matthias Verbeek has joined the maintainer team. So Matthias has been a long-time contributor to CLI, which has been fantastic. And we're really excited that he's joining the team and helping us take CLI forward. So if you're really interested in getting to grips with the new beta, then you can get that from NPM. So you can use the @next tag, and if you want to use our Docker container as well, you can use the next tag there. For all the information, release notes, bug fixes as well, which are included in this release, go to aka.ms/CLI-M365/notes. And if you're interested in just learning more about CLI, getting involved with the community, then the best place to do that is through our Discord server. You can join the server if you go to aka.ms/CLI-M365/Discord. Next slide, Chris, please. And we have a new release of DevProxy as well. So version 0.18, which was just released today. So we've got some new improvements around reporters. So we've made some changes to make it much more flexible for you to generate reports from the output that you get from proxy as well. So this is a big change internally, but we're going to hopefully see more kind of features built on top of this that you're going to be able to use to basically build your own report. So reporting the information for proxy either from using JSON for scripting or Markdown or just simple plain text. We've also been working on improvements of using DevProxy in CI/CD scenarios as well. So we see this as an interesting area for you to run DevProxy with like automated tests. So if you're using Playwright for testing, using DevProxy to simulate errors in those tests as well. We've got some improvements around Azure API Center integration as well. So this is a new integration where if you're using API Center in your organization to govern and manage the APIs on your estate, you can use DevProxy to discover APIs that maybe aren't in your inventory and actually create those APIs as well. So really making it simple and easy for you to onboard new APIs. And that also goes on to API spec generation as well, is that will also generate those specs for you, which then you can use in Azure API Center. Few updates to the console output as well. We've made some tweaks in there just around logging, being more informational. And we've got a new release of the toolkit, which is our Visual Studio Code extension. So if you're doing anything with proxy, working with configuration files, then that's the extension that you'll need to get, update these files super quick and use all the new features. With that, Chris, back to you.
Thank you. I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. So DevProxy, awesome, great updates. Give me I'm a brand new developer. Why would I use DevProxy and when?
So in the simplest terms, using DevProxy to simulate an API throwing an error. So let's think about throttling, for example. You can't just turn on throttling. You can't go to Graph and say, hey, Microsoft, to the Graph team, can you throttle these requests for me so I can test whether my code is going to handle that or not? With DevProxy, you can simulate that behavior and effectively turn on that toggling behavior and do lots of other things, not just throwing errors, but mocking responses, creating very simple APIs as well without actually having to write code. I see lots of status codes being thrown in the chat. We do the 418 as well, the teapot error as well. So if you want to have fun as well with your error messages, then you can use DevProxy to simulate all that.
Gotcha. So it's largely like a testing tool or a rapid application development tool, would you say?
Yeah, exactly. It could be a testing tool. It could be, like I say, development tool. It could be, I just need to stand up an API. I'm a front end developer, back end team are working on building that API. It doesn't quite exist yet, but actually we could just simulate a back end API that the front end developers can then use. So there's lots of features in there. It's very much like you say, testing tool, but there's lots of utilities in there as well. So yeah, definitely check out the docs. Because there's a lot more than what we've just talked about here. So aka.ms/devproxy, you'll find all the information, tutorials, getting started, paths as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really helpful. I also, it's not an advanced tool. I mean, it is advanced, but I mean, it can be for beginners, right? You could start off with it. You can build it in as you're going from the beginning of the thing. I just, sometimes we present these things and I worry that some people ignore a few of these things, like, that's for later. I'll get to that. It's like, no, you can use this right now. This is wonderful for now. Anyway.
Absolutely. If you are building anything that connects to an API, whether that's a PowerShell script, a web app, a SharePoint Framework web part, it doesn't matter. If it's sending a request, then DevProxy can help you simulate, kind of these scenarios where you want to repeat things. You want to go, what happens if this breaks? What happens if this API goes down? They're difficult things to test, but Proxy makes it really easy for you to just simulate those. And then, you can then focus on making sure your code is right. We don't want assumptions, going into like production apps of like, oh, well, I'm sure this will all work. And then find out that day one, oh no, these things didn't work because we couldn't test them.
Yeah. But, well, thank you, Gary, for being a guinea pig on that. I appreciate it. That's awesome. So
fine.
We'll let you go, though. Don't worry.
Cheers, Chris.
All right. So, Alex, are you on the call, or we got someone else who wants to cover these? Or I can, either way.
I don't see Alex.
I can.
Perfect. Go for it.
So we released just yesterday some patching version for the React controls, following a translation issue raised by Elio. It is on the call. Hello. And so we found interesting to release as a patch version for the React controls. Also another fix regarding the file picker control. And nothing more since we have the property controls of 3.17 released a couple of weeks ago. So that's it for me. Back to you.
Okay, great. And I won't put you on the spot since I don't think you were planning on it. Don't worry. But I will say for anyone that is starting SPFx or has been doing it for a while, if you have not looked into these reusable controls, you are doing things in a much harder way than you need to be, right? So there are a ton of controls here, from sometimes the very basic, like a spin control, right, just in the property pane. So you can have a numeric entry real easy, right, to full on charts and graphs and everything else in between, and it is really awesome. So check those out. Those are two separate projects, and they're very, very helpful. All right, and then Alex, are you around here? Or not Alex? Sorry, Adam, you here?
Yeah, I can be Alex.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Hi everybody. So if you are not using SharePoint Framework Toolkit and you're doing any kind of SharePoint Framework development, then you are missing out a lot. We've just released a new pre-release 3.2.1 that if you were following MS Build latest announcement, not that SPFx Toolkit was announced, but a capability we are already using in the latest pre-release. So now you can use SPFx Toolkit in GitHub Copilot chat. Yeah, this is really awesome. So no more coding alone. You always have your AI assistant or Copilot, SPFx, Tyler kind of thing. And everything is Copilot now, right? Copilot. Okay, I said it. And now when you add the add SPFx in the Copilot chat extension, you will get the PNP part. As you can see, SPFx Toolkit response. So these are tailored responses for your prompts for SPFx development. And it comes along with 4 commands, the setup code, an action, and I don't remember the 4th one. So basically, when you also add a command, it will not only return your response for your prompt, but also actions which trigger a dedicated feature in the SPFx toolkit. So you can run directly an action. So this is a clickable button. I mean, every button usually is clickable. So it's a button in the in the GitHub Copilot chat response that, for example, can trigger the checking of your dependencies if you are set up for SPFx development. And as I said, it is an early release. It was just announced in MS Build, so it's triple beta. You need to have the latest SPFx toolkit, pre-release 3.2.1. You need to have GitHub Copilot chat in pre-release as well. And you need to be using VS Code Insiders, not VS Code standard, but the green one. So the VS Code Insiders, they are really at the edge. And I estimate more or less in 2 months it will become a standard feature, so it will then go just to your standard Visual Studio Code if you make. Okay, that's all from my side. Happy coding, everybody, and back to you, Chris.
Beautiful. And if you missed it, I think Adam, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Adam did a walkthrough of the toolkit, and it was awesome. It was a lightning round of that, but as recorded to our community learning channel, so be sure to check that out. In fact, I'm challenging David to go find the link to that right now. So David will post that link to the chat here. But it was an awesome demo to really give you an overview of how powerful this thing is. And knowing that it's already been updated to some of the new GitHub Copilot chat is really, really cool. And we'll tell you just how much work is going into this thing. So,
and even next calls and next calls, we're gonna have demo series dedicated to this product. And on this Saturday, on this Saturday, if you are attending maybe Collab Days Netherlands, I'll be there. Be sure to say hi. Okay, that's all from my side.
Awesome. All right, and let's see, Casper, you around?
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a new release this week. We are still gathering all the goodies for a release sometime later. But I would like to suggest that you have a look at the PnP Modern Search office hours if you have any issues, if you have any questions related to the PnP Modern Search web parts. It's basically just a service where you can sign up for half an hour of my time every 2 weeks. I have set aside some time where I answer questions and help people to debug whatever issues they have with their search issues, specifically if it's for PnP Modern Search. So let's have a chat there and see if we can get you up and running again. Back to you, Chris.
Well, now I got to ask you a hard-hitting question.
Oh.
Why is that magnifying glass bent? That's what I want to know. For that poor head.
It was an early Copilot. It was not that sophisticated, I guess. It's just like, how many fingers does he have? 5 or 6? 6, I think. Yeah, well.
I think it does possums a little better than people. All right. Thanks. Perfect. All right. So let's talk about these SPFx samples. So we've got a couple of repositories for you for the extensions and the web parts. So if you're just beginning with SPFx, I know we had a couple questions in chat about getting started. This is a great way to get started because these are samples done by coders in the real world out there trying to solve real problems. These are, we've got a nice sample browser. You can also go directly to the repository if you want to go that way. But again, there are just tons and tons of samples here covering all sorts of different scenarios, right from very basic, like, hey, I want to add Google Analytics to the page, or I want to track, some very things in an extension, right, all the way to the full-fledged security solutions, right, management solutions. So really, really cool stuff. Check these out. These are a great way to get started. These are not necessarily production-ready code you want to install in your tenant, but it's fantastic to use these to build your code. Again, why start with a blank canvas when you can start somewhere else where someone's already partially solved that problem, and sometimes we even show it in multiple different ways. So it's awesome. Check it out. It's cool. It's free. It's great. And of course, let's talk about ACEs. So Anup, are you on the call here?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
All right.
So this is the slide about the ACEs repository. Unfortunately, we haven't got any new samples this week. However, I'll quickly talk about what ACEs are. So if you've got Viva Connections in your organization enabled, then Viva Connections can be personalized and extended. One way of doing that is through ACEs or adaptive card extensions. Now, these ACEs, they are these tiny cards which help you view information quickly at a glance, or maybe even interact with them. As you can see on the on the slide over there at the top, there is a card which has popped out. You can interact with those cards, and these cards can surface information from systems within your organization, say for example your annual leave system, expenses system, or even from SharePoint, or from say external data sources. Now, Microsoft provides some of these ACEs out of the box. However, we can create our own custom ACEs as well using SPFx. And one such place, or one place to find such custom ACEs is the PNP SPFx ACEs repository. The URL is over there and will be added to the chat. So yeah, feel free to take a look at that repository and contribute samples. Back to you, Chris.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks. And I think we're showing some of the new chart capabilities down there, right, that SPFx has just added. So that's awesome. Okay. And David, I think you got this here for the picture time.
I think you're right, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
So turn on those cameras, everybody. Let's get into together mode. Let's see if I can get okay, bring teams back up. Come on, teams, you can do it. You can do it. Come on. There we go. Everybody's looking awesome. All right. Woohoo! All right. We're a little pixelated, but we can tell who each other is. Who be it? All right. Let's get the recording started. And all right. Do some waving. Everybody looks great. Oh, look at that with some hearts. That was impressive. I don't know if that's teams or something cool, but I love it. All right. Great job, everybody. Chris, back to you.
Right, all right, all right. Let me just hit these buttons. All right, there we go. Okay, now it's time for the demo. Peter, I hope you're ready because you're up. All right, Peter, take over the screen whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I hope sharing is working and the microphone is also working.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody. Classic from Austria. Today I want to talk about error logging and how you can support your internal communication department or product owner or product manager with some logging informations. Quite a lot of applications nowadays are written as single-page applications. So a SharePoint Framework solution is a single-page application, and when you host it in as Teams tab, for example, in Teams, it's also a single-page application. So the main things are made in the client or on the client in the browser. I'm taking a look at some samples and issues, and they are really simplified to explain it easier. So in the first thing is I received the email from Susan Baker, and she tells me that our CIO has a big problem with our onboarding site. This is a default template from the SharePoint, and I added one little thing. I added a web part here, and what we can see in the screenshot, something went wrong. So what is the first reaction you can do? You can go to the page and check it if it's working for you. And as expected, it is working. So the next thing is maybe your colleague, hey, can you try this site? Is it working? And he will give you also the other answer that it works great. So you have a problem with one special user. So the good thing is we have here an error boundary here. So you see when something went wrong, we write something went wrong on the screen. But do you see it already? Where do we log the errors? We write it into the console. So who can see the errors? Only the user in front of the PC, or can only see it in the browser. So for this, you have maybe to make a call to your CIO and say, hey, can you open the DevTools and can we make a screenshot, or can we make a remote session? I think this would be the best call you have on ever. Unfortunately, I had managed to get the screenshot, and I see we make a graph call, and we get as return 404. It means file not found. So is this an implementation error or what's wrong here? Maybe I can use another endpoint. So I say expand to manager, but also for this, when I have done it in another way, I would get another error, but I will get an error. So how to avoid such code in future? The simplest way is, hey, I'm a dev, so I can write an endpoint where we can send all the logs inside, write the short function, send logs to log server, and everything is good. But think about, you have to write also an Azure function, for example, and store the post message into a document DB or in a storage account. And maybe in future you want to have alerts or you want to have reporting. So we are in the Microsoft 365 environment. So our favorite cloud provider is maybe Azure. I hope so. And in Azure, you have a really nice service that's called Application Insight. And for the hardcore developer, here is the bicep code, so you can provision this service. So what you have to do, it's not a big deal. You have to install a node package. It's npm minus Microsoft/Application Insight Web. And you have to integrate it. With some lines of code, you can add everything. You have only to add a connection string and say load Application Insight, and you are finished to set up your application that you get log information, especially for requests. When you want to send custom logs, write the function and say, okay, in the function when its log level is verbose, send it to as trace to the Application Insight. And this was it. You have only to bind this function to your control, and you can write nice logs. So I have tried it, and I've made the first log component mounted, and I write it here. So in the service, you see everything. Let's look at real time. We have here the PMPJS is now in version 4 available, and I mainly use PMPJS. So there you can use the you have the interface. It's the log listener, and you have only to implement one function. It's called log, and here I write the messages. In this example, I write it in the error. But what we can see is I write everything in the exception log. Does it make sense? Maybe this is better. Talk with your colleagues when you use a logging service, how to log the messages. If you log everything in the table A or in the table B, it depends on you. For me, it's more important that every developer in your organization make the same thing, because when you have to support another code, you should find where the logs are stored. So, and for the PMPJS, you have only to say logger, give, subscribe this. And for me, I also give the console listener every time to the logger, because during development, it's easier to open the browser and the dev console and you get everything. In the last line, what is highlighted, you can say which log level is interesting for you. So in this sample on the screen, the debug level will not be submitted to Application Insight and also not in the console. So, and here we have one thing more. I set an authenticated user context. Why I do this is I want to know which user has this done. But please take care. In some organizations, it's not allowed to do it in plain text. Maybe you have to hash it. Please, in organization, talk to your work council if what is allowed and how you can use it. So in PMPJS, I made some action buttons and I write some logs. It's not a big sample, so you can click on the buttons and the logs are transmitted to Application Insight. And here it is. And the only thing on the left-hand side, you see you have exceptions and you have traces. and with a small query, exceptions. In this, I have all the clicks. Good. Let's jump to another thing. I have here a web part. This web part has items, and you have the possibility to add the items. On the one side, you can add the items on the bottom side, or on the top, I have an command bar with one action, add item. So, and the question is, which action does the user use? Does the user use the action on the bottom or on the top? So on the event on save, added application inside track event, and I gave them a name. And the top, add item context menu, and on the bottom, add item web part context. So I know in the log which user has used which action. So now we get the results. In this case, we get the results under the custom events because we have submitted an event. So let's take a look at one log item. On the top, you have the name. You can find directly the name, what we have set in the application. On the other hand, we have on the bottom, you see I use a browser on Mac, and you see my location is in Upper Austria, and the city is Linz. And what you see here is that the IP address is masked. So by default, application inside masks the IP address from the user. You can say disable IP masking of true, and you can see the IP address of the service provider. So, and on here, you see the authentication context. You can write me some ways. I will not answer it. It's a dev tenant. So I will ignore the mails. So when we go back to our custom events, you see I have quite a lot of events here, and only some events are now interesting for me, which user has clicked on which button. So I added some in the telemetry initializer, I added some lines of code to identify my web part and to have it easier when we log more web parts and more solutions into the same application inside. So I can use it. So I extend the query and say the role name should be my solution, and the role instance is, for this example, my web part. And now I have only the events what is used in this web part. So it is a nice list, but I want to have a report. I want to show it to somebody. I want to show it to my manager and say, hey, I want to get rid of one functionality. So I can extend it and say I'm only interested in events that are starting with add item. This is for my web part. And in line 5, I only want to show in the last 10 hours how the people have used this. And then as I summarize and count. So, and yeah, I want to see the bar chart, then it's easier to make it in a presentation for your product owner. And I see only one user has used the context menu. All other use the web part context. So in my opinion, the first reaction would be remove it from the command bar. Nobody use it. I don't want to support this code anymore. So the same thing is what is about when you have a bigger web part or you have multiple pages, how you can monitor this. So I use in the web part a router, and I use the hash router. I have 3 pages and 1 start page here implemented. And the only thing to get information about this is it goes back to my application inside initialization and add, yes, we in React, we add the React plugin, we say enable auto route tracking and also auto track page visit time. because we want to know how long a user is on the page. And then we have only to say track page view. It is so easy as it looks. So in the page tracking, I can I clicked around and get some data, and I said, okay, to see the same pattern, I want to have the page views starting with page, because contains page, start page, page 1, page 2, and page 3 are also included page, and I want to have it for this web part, and I want to have the report from the last 8 hours, and I summarize everything and make a bar chart. So I see that the pages are used and so on. But we had a second options that we have also the visit time. And so let's make another query. It's this matrix are stored in the custom matrix. And then I say, okay, I want to see the page visit time, summarize it, and I want the average from the how long a user was on the page. And I see the page 3, the users read the most. Start page on page 1 is not interesting really for the users. So, and the next thing, what also is possible in Application Insight, I can have a user flow. So I see I have 6 sessions on the start page. Then the main of the users, 4 sessions go to page 2, and only 1 goes back to the start page. Why? I don't know. And page 1 is also only used. So you see the complete flow of the users. So for this web part, it's a demonstration. But what's really interesting is when you have a page and you want to track everything what the user used in the SharePoint site. So you can also track the pages, and we have here did before. There are tons of samples already existing, and 2 extensions already exist that you can use and implement. The only thing what you have to take care is think about how you handle the user, and maybe you have to extend one of the samples to say, I want to have the department or the company also in this result set in the item, because then I can say, okay, this department uses this path and the other department uses more this path, and so on. And when you provide this to your internal communication department, they're really happy. The only thing is maybe it's a little bit complicated to see it in the Application Insight directly. And we have another sample in the sample gallery, so you can see the page visits on the web part. You can give it to a SharePoint site, and the users can use it. And when it's on a SharePoint site, you can also integrate it on Teams. So let's jump to another issue. It's a really good issue because application is sometimes slow. Sometimes it's really nice to test. What does it mean? Are the requests slow? So let's take a look what Application Insight provides you. You have on the left-hand side workbooks, and there are some predefined queries. And I would say, let's try one. This one is, I want to have the average duration of a request. And when I look at this one, it looks pretty good because the main of the requests are under 150 milliseconds. So I think this is not a problem why we are slow. The next thing is, do we have any application errors or do we have HTTP errors in the log? Let's take a look at the log, and I say request summarize the count of the result count. And what I see here, we have a ton of good requests. This is the 200, but we have some requests with 429. What does 429 mean? Too many requests. So the application we made is resilient against 429 because we don't have any application error. It's only slow. So in this reason, I think you should think about in your application about patching because you make so many requests. The 429 error is sometimes really hard to find because it's maybe not your application, it's another application, and then the request limit is slower. So this is one hard error you find. Is hard to find, but when it's not your application, you have the possibility to say, hey, I want to have an alert as soon as I have a 429 error on my tenant. So we go into the application insights, we use the alert feature, we create a new alert. In my example, I use a custom query. In the custom query, say I want to have the request that contains a result code of 429. And I want to say when I have more than 2 errors in 1 hour, I want to get an email. So it's easy, straightforward to configure. It's click, 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 like Microsoft every time. Click, 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 and you are finished. And so on. So on the developer side, you can also use application insights in the environment. Because when you make an application, and quite a lot of people are currently working on it, it's maybe not so good to make an update. So you can make queries and say, how is the usage currently? Should I make an update in my CI/CD pipeline? And also for Power Apps, in Power Apps, you can also enter the instrumentation key in your application, and then you get the log information out of Power Apps, and you have a central point. You can make alerts, you can make reports. Maybe this will change in future instrumentation key to connection string, but I don't know. What is missing? One password we had today, it's Copilot. When you think about, you write a Copilot plugin. In the Copilot plugin, it's Microsoft Teams message extensions, and it's based on the bot framework. And also in the bot framework, you can integrate application insight. You get the prompts. So, and I think I have covered all things. Please take a look at application insight. Take also a look of dev proxy. The 429 errors are generated with the dev proxy. And here on the slide, you find also the web part. Do we have some time?
We do.
Okay, then I want to show it. It's not a Microsoft M365 thing. It's a Kubernetes cluster, but I want to show you something. It's a playground for me. I have here a Kubernetes cluster, and on this Kubernetes cluster, I have some instances running, and I can see how the relation between the instances are. And let's take a look. I see this has a connection, and we have some errors here. So when I go here in the application map, I see directly that I have here some errors failing top, and I can dig into it. When are the errors? How are the errors? Okay, this error code I don't know. And it can analyze it. And you have quite a lot of information, how it is used, which servers are involved with this. So, but when we are here on the failures, what I prefer, I have here a 404 error, so file not found, and it's something in my application code. And when I go here, I have a really good integration. Create a work item. So in DevOps, you can directly create a work item out of an error. And this is really awesome to get a good overview of your applications. So Chris, I think I'm finished.
That was great. I appreciate it. I really like it. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Yeah, I've got a hand up here. I don't know if we can have you unmute, but we can put it in chat here. Drilling. So,
yeah, probably putting it in chat is best because.
Yeah, we've got some time though, so if you'll answer some questions, that'd be great because that was very, very helpful. That was like a master class on some of these app insights. I really appreciate you sharing some of those sample links as well. And David, you put the sample links, I think, in the chat already as well for
Yep.
anyone that's looking for those. But take advantage of some of those samples would be awesome.
Yeah, the samples are old, but it's really important to manage your tenant. When you have logs, you can manage it without logs. Yeah, it's not so good when you talk to the CEO and want to have your screen sharing.
All right. Any questions for Peter or anybody else here? Keep it going here in the chat, but I'll go ahead and I guess we'll start wrapping up the call here unless we see something come in here. All
Write
right,
it in the chat, I will answer it.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Peter. Really great demo. Very much appreciated here, and we'll jump over here. If you have feedback about the call or things you'd like to see, or things you'd like us to do, whether that's good feedback or negative feedback, either one are appreciated. You can go here and fill this form out. We do read those, and they do make a difference. And then, of course, you can also head over here to our Discord server here, and this is a great place to continue this chat. So we love to have the conversations here in the chat, but it can be pretty limited, right? There's a lot of messages going on out. It's hard to do some threaded conversations. So the Discord server is a great spot to do that. You can jump on chat. There's all sorts of people over there monitoring that. Adam is especially active. If you want to go pick his brain on the SharePoint Framework Toolkit and some of those other things there. But check that out. That's getting pretty high up there. Almost 2,000 people. You could be member number 2,000. Get over there. Wow. All right. And finally, the recording of this will be on YouTube on that community learning channel within 24 hours. So please be sure to check that out. You can go back and you can watch Peter's demo on half speed like I'm going to do so that I make sure I get all of the insights out of it. Oh, you see what I did there? That was clever. All right. Well, that's it for us. So please follow us on the not the Twitter, the X, and over on the LinkedIn and the Discord and all the other places. And that's it for us today. Thanks so much. Woo, wow.
Bye-bye.